What if the deadliest conflicts in history weren't won with tanks or troops, but with sneaky devaluations that starved nations, toppled leaders, and reshaped the world map without a single shot fired? Imagine empires crumbling not from invasions, but from invisible battles over coins and credits that secretly decided who thrived and who suffered. These hidden currency wars have sparked global crises, fueled massive bubbles, and they're raging right now, impacting your savings in ways you never suspected. Stay till the end, because the most explosive revelations are last, chilling modern examples that mirror ancient tactics, plus the one foolproof move to shield your money from the next silent strike. You won't believe how close we are to another round, and this could be your edge. Many assume conflicts revolve around projectiles and explosives, yet some of history's most ruinous clashes involved mechanisms for producing notes, borrowing costs, and trade valuations. These overlooked struggles, absent from standard education, featured no advancing forces but led to widespread national failures. Such monetary confrontations have influenced the ascent and decline of great powers as profoundly as any strategic commander. Viewing them solely through an analytical lens misses the point. They dictate access to essentials, governance structures, and hierarchies of influence. These engagements persist subtly in the present, with repercussions affecting every unit of value you hold. The core concept involves deploying financial instruments strategically, perhaps intentionally weakening one's tender to undercut competitors' offerings, saturating channels with inexpensive funds to unsettle opponents, or accumulating reserves to constrain access for others. It appears as astute maneuvering, but often resembles indirect sabotage, harming both targets and initiators alike. An early 20th century instance unfolded amid widespread economic turmoil following a major market downturn in 1929. Desperation drove countries to prioritize outbound sales for recovery, yet shrinking worldwide interest prompted a cascade of value reductions. A key European player abandoned a fixed standard in 1931, causing its unit to drop sharply. Another major economy adjusted its backing in 1933. Similar actions followed across continents, but rather than boosting exchanges, it fostered mutual impoverishment. Rising costs for incoming goods eroded living conditions, heightening frictions that contributed to subsequent global strife. These dynamics trace back further, an ancient Mediterranean dominion engaged in parallel tactics nearly 2 millennia prior. Its primary medium relied on metallic purity for reliability, underpinning authority. Expanding territories and escalating campaigns tempted leaders to dilute compositions, blending in lesser materials to extend circulation while maintaining appearances. Incremental at first, reductions eventually left minimal original content. This paralleled contemporary expansions of supply, yielding foreseeable outcomes, escalating prices, eroded confidence, and eventual systemic breakdown. External pressures compounded internal weaknesses, accelerating downfall. Post-major global confrontation, reconstruction occurred through a 1944 agreement establishing a dominant tender linked to a scarce resource, with others aligned accordingly. Intended to prevent future manipulations by stabilizing ratios, it instead fostered imbalances. The overseeing entity, controlling both the primary unit and underlying backing, extended reach without overt force, applying fiscal leverage on non-compliant parties. Yet sustainability faltered. By the decade's end, overproduction unsupported by reserves financed overseas engagements and internal initiatives. Observers abroad reacted by seeking conversions, straining vaults. A pivotal 1971 announcement halted exchanges, dismantling the arrangement and ushering in variable valuations, reigniting competitive pressures. A stark illustration from the following decade targeted a rapidly ascending Pacific economy, fueled by production and diligence, amassing significant imbalances with a Western counterpart. In 1985, a multilateral pact among major players aimed to recalibrate by diminishing one unit while elevating others. Officially for equilibrium, it functioned as synchronized intervention. The affected tender appreciated dramatically within months, inflating valuations before a devastating rupture, initiating prolonged slowdown. No direct actions occurred, adjustments through channels sufficed. These episodes seldom present overtly as hostilities, manifesting as deliberations, policy shifts, or gatherings, yet impacts devastate, operations shuttering, joblessness mounting, reserves diminishing. A late 1990s regional turmoil saw one southeast tender plummet under targeted pressures, compelling abandonment of its anchor. Contagion affected neighbors, with sharp depreciations and contractions plunging vast populations into hardship rapidly. It underscored interconnected vulnerabilities, where one adjustment cascades destructively. Such patterns aren't relics, current landscapes reflect advanced iterations. Mechanisms include minimal borrowing thresholds, expansive acquisitions injecting vast liquidity, and restrictions isolating entities from networks. Prominent economies engage in understated contests over fiscal sway, one retaining premier status, the other advancing its alternative through parallel systems and accumulations. Developing markets confront dilemmas: maintain affordability for expansion at outflow risks, or elevate to preserve stability at growth's expense. Imbalances favor dominant participants. Recent global health challenges accelerated dynamics, unprecedented infusions supported relief, initially buoying valuations and activity. Yet repercussions surfaced, elevated costs at multi-decade peaks prompted sharp corrections. Strengthened units burdened others with costlier inflows, exacerbating shortfalls in vulnerable areas and pressuring fragile tenders. Stabilizing measures for some inadvertently unsettle many, revealing concealed tolls, multilateral involvement without opt-outs. Records indicate inconclusive resolutions, often escalating until fractures occur, tenders fail, novel frameworks arise, or unrest compels alterations. Historical shifts, from 17th-century dominance to 19th-century standards, then 20th-century transitions, involved disorder, obligations unmet, and disruptions. Speculation surrounds futures, sustained primacy, diversified arrangements with electronic variants, or novel decentralized options challenging traditions. These queries influence personal finances, holdings worth, necessities affordability, occupational security. The peril lies in unawareness. Subtle erosions manifest gradually through rising expenses before recognition. Informed awareness equips defenses: recognize erosions undermining true value, grasp institutional utilizations for leverage, diversify into resilient forms, dispel notions of inherent safety in balances. Ultimately, mediums serve as instruments for maneuvering, oversight, and occasionally disruption. Outcomes favor not ingenuity or output but sheer might. Casualties include the uninformed, realizing involvement belatedly. Echoes persist: ancient dilutions, interwar reductions, 80s realignments, recent expansions, and impending developments. Details vary, yet approaches endure. Interpret adjustments, reductions, or measures as initial maneuvers. Recall, amid fiscal confrontations, vulnerability strikes unexpectedly. Prioritize enduring assets over nominals. Scrutinize structures, trace trends, position beyond reach. If this broadened horizons, subscribe, Precedence Guide ahead.